Unboxing, tests and review of the Donner Arena 2000 multi-effects pedal. Anyone who's seen any of my previous reviews will know I like to go through things in fine detail. But this, being a multi-effects pedal, has got a lot going on and a lot to look at. So I don't think there's any way I could go through it all in this one video. In fact, if you look at the Donner website, you'll see they've got a couple of videos, loads of photographs and loads of information. To summarise all this information, here's the specification, which if you're interested, you could pause the video here and read through it for yourself. This was ordered from the Donner website and it was sent by quick tracked shipping. So if you want, you can follow its journey through the postage system. And it arrived in kind of that cling film bin bag type stuff, which is very lightweight and relatively green compared to a load of boxing. Right, let's start unpacking it. I'll play the unboxing section at double speed just to make the video a little less boring and because I think the actual review of the pedal will take a bit of time. Inside the black cling foam stuff is the retail packaging, and inside the retail packaging the pedal and the accessories are held in place with some foam that protects all the corners. Once we've taken it out of the box, we have the effects pedal, the power supply and some adapters, a USB lead and the instruction manual. Right, I'll just get rid of this last bit of packaging so we can take a proper look at everything. The first thing I've noticed, even before I opened the package really, was the weight, and the actual unit is pretty heavy, which hopefully means it's really well made. After getting it out of all its packaging, I can confirm it's very good quality. It feels heavy and it's very solidly built. I think the majority of the build is aluminium, and looking at the website and even looking at the pedal through the bag, I thought the expression pedal was plastic. However, on further inspection, even this is made of aluminium, so the whole thing is very solid. The only part of the unit that's not metal are the bits that couldn't be metal if you wanted them to be. For example, the screen and the touch control area. The foot switches, as you'd hope, are really good heavy duty quality, and they have a really good click to them. And the expression pedal, the same, really good quality. There's no grating or dragging, but there's good resistance. Looking at the control knobs, there's 3 standard potentiometers: the output volume, XLR volume and the headphone volume. And there's 5 small rotary encoders, which I'd imagine are to adjust the effects parameters. And finally, there's 1 large rotary encoder with a push button action as well. Right, let's sort out the power supply so I can turn it on. The power supply comes with various adapters for various countries, and I think this is really handy because you just clip on the right one and you're ready to go. A lot of big names could learn from this. The adapters you don't need. If you want, you can throw them away or better still recycle them, but I think I'll put them away somewhere safe in case I ever need them. Right, I'll plug it all in now and see if it powers up okay. I hope it sounds as good as it looks, because it powers on like a Christmas tree and it looks really nice. And you might think this is unimportant, but when you stood up with this on the floor, it's really important that the display is clear and you can tell what's going on. Here you can see I've turned on every block or effect, so you can see what the icons look like. Right, let's look at the connectors on the back of the unit so we can connect it all up. I'll talk you through them all first, but we'll only be using one or two in this review. Firstly, we got the power supply socket and the switch, and there's a white clip on the end where you can wrap the wire around if you want. This prevents any tugs on the wire causing the plug to come out or any damage to the unit. Next we've got the MIDI in, or musical instrument digital interface, and this can allow you to expand the unit by adding extra switches and so on. Next you've got the input, and this would plug straight into your guitar. Next we've got two outputs, and if you're using a standard mono guitar amplifier, you'd use the left hand side one. But if you've got a stereo amplifier, you could use the left and right accordingly. The last of the 4 jack plug sockets is for an expression or a couple of expression pedals, so again you can expand the unit. Next we've got a 3.5mm jack plug socket, which is your auxiliary in, so you can play things like your phone through the pedal in case you want backing tracks. And next to that we've got a standard 3.5mm jack plug headphones out. And then we've got a USB Type-C socket, so you can plug the unit into your computer. We'll take a look at this later in the video. Next, we've got a ground lift switch, and this is to stop buzzing if you're getting a ground loop. And without going into too much detail, if you are getting a buzzing sound, try this switch and see if it stops it. Finally, we've got 2 balanced XLR outputs. And if you just select the left channel, it will give you a mono signal. But if you want stereo, you'd plug into both channels. This connection isn't as common as a standard jack plug, but it's really useful if you want to plug into a mixing desk or other stage or studio equipment. Most people will probably only ever use half of these connections, but it's better to have them and not need them than to need them and not have them. Right, let's check out the sound. And I'll plug the guitar straight into the input, and I'll use the mono out going to a standard mono guitar amp. I'm using a Hughes & Kepner Matrix 100 amp, but to be honest with you, this isn't a proper or fair test. I'm just doing a proof of concept that it works with a standard guitar amp. Because I'm going through the nasty mic on my camera, it's never going to do the sound any justice. That's just me messing about and not doing anything serious, just to get an idea what each preset can do. However, something I noticed straight away, and I've noticed this on every effects unit I've ever had straight out the box, is watch out for the volumes, because you can go between one patch that's very quiet straight to another patch that is bang on loud. So you have to watch out you don't damage your speaker or disturb the neighbours, whichever's most concerned to you. The demonstration I was doing there in the background didn't demonstrate what I wanted it to demonstrate, but it demonstrated something else. When I played the really quiet section, it was very quiet here. And when I moved up a preset, that preset was amp rattlingly loud. But the microphone and the camera automatically level it all, so you really couldn't hear that. Right, let's move on and see what happens when we plug it into the computer and see what the software has to offer. When you first start up the software, you'll notice that the Arena 2000 isn't there. But you just go into the product manager and click on the Arena 2000 and it automatically downloads and installs the correct components. Then a picture of the Arena 2000 will turn up on the opening screen. So you just click on it and you're ready to go. If you look in the top right hand corner, it'll actually tell you when the pedal's connected. And when it is connected, the app will synchronize itself with the pedal. You can see there on the left hand side of the screen all the names for all the different presets. And it's really easy to scroll through them. And if you want to try one or select one, you just click on it and the pedal automatically jumps to that preset. There's 150 presets, and that's 50 banks of 3 presets. So when you're using it as a pedal, you can use pedal 1, 2 and 3 to go between the 3 presets. Scrolling down through all the presets, you'll notice that from bank 37 to 50 are all empty, so you can create and save your own presets. At the top left hand side of the screen is a file menu, and from there you can select upgrade firmware, and it allows you to check for upgrades, and there is one available. So I'll do that before I continue with the review. You can also see what version of the firmware you've got when you turn the pedal on. I'll speed this bit up because it takes a few minutes. Obviously, it's downloading the firmware from the internet and uploading it to the pedal. But it's worth me pointing out, whilst it's working on the firmware update, the pedal itself puts on a little light show so you know it's still alive and working. And when it's finally completed the firmware update, it restarts into the new firmware. Going back to the app, because it's easier for me to show you just how many effects are in there, you can see that line of blocks along the top represents all the different effects. And they don't have to be in that order. You can pick them up and drag them into whatever order you want them in. When you click on any of those blocks, you get a list of all the variations on that effect, or in the case of effects A and effects B, you get a list of different effects you can use. So you can see straight away, this is why I can't do a detailed review. There's literally thousands of different sounds you can get from this pedal. For people who are new to guitar effects, I'll go through very quickly from left to right what the different abbreviations mean. The first one, comp, is compression. The second one, FXA, could be anything. It's got a list of different effects there. You can select which one you want. Amp is obviously amplifier models, so it'll sound like the guitar's going through a particular amplifier. And there's loads of these. And then cab is a particular speaker type. so it would sound like it's going through those speakers. There's a lot of these as well. Drive is distortion, or over-amplification basically. EQ is the balance between bass, middle and treble. NG stands for noise gate, which removes any unwanted background noise. Effects B is the same as Effects 1. You have a choice of different effects you can select for that slot. Delay is echo basically. And finally, you've got reverb. There's a lot more I could show you in the app, but we'll move on to the pedal now and take a look at that. But before I unplug it from the computer, I'll just point out that the USB not only gives you access to the effects, but it also turns the pedal into a sound card. So you can record directly through the pedal and play back directly through the pedal. So combining this with the effects, this would be a great tool for someone starting out who wanted to write and record their own music. Earlier in the review, I pointed out the obvious controls and switches. However, when you turn it on, you can see that there's a large touch area on the pedal. And the touch area gives you access to the effects from the pedal or the ability to turn them on and off. Also, it gives you access to a number of menus for general control of the pedal. The pedal's also got a looper, a drum machine and a tuner, which I'll use now to make sure my guitar's in tune before I start. After tuning the guitar, I double checked it on a tuner I know is accurate, and it was bang on. So we'll move on to the drum machine now to see what the rhythms are like and the sound quality. The sound quality is very good, and there's a choice of 40 rhythms, so there's a good selection there, and if you're just using it for practice, it's more than enough. And obviously, you can play your guitar over the top of the drums, so you just select the drum kit you want, start it, then select which guitar sound you want, and practice. Something I have to mention, but I'm not going to go into too much detail on, is the fact that the pedals also got Bluetooth. So it'll either connect with your iPhone or your Android device. And you can download the app and do everything I've done in the computer app, except for the fact it's not a sound card. So any sound changes or configuration changes can be done through the app. When I first tried this, I was wondering what the point is, but I had the effects on the desk. The minute you put them on the floor and use them as you would when you were performing, then the app becomes very useful because you can have it on a music stand in front of you and you don't have to keep bending down to make changes to the pedal. So it's actually a really useful feature. Right, let's just go back to the pedal itself and do a general overview of how you use it. And the first thing is, to select presets, you can use the rotary encoder by the screen. And as you rotate it, it scrolls through all the different presets. Or if you're using it as a pedal, if you press the two pedals on the right hand side, it goes up a bank. And if you press the two pedals on the left hand side, it goes down a bank. And then you use the individual pedals to select the preset within the bank. Once you've found an effect you like, if you want to change it slightly by adding an effect, you can do this just by touching the touch bar. And you then use the rotary encoders to alter it to whatever settings you want. If you want to adjust an effect that's already on, you just touch that effect and you can adjust it using the rotary encoders. Or if you want to turn an effect off, you touch the effect twice and it goes off. When I first got the pedal and turned it on, I thought it was going to be a nightmare to use, but I couldn't be more wrong. It's really intuitive and easy to use, and everything's straightforward. And I'm really not the greatest tech guy. One major nightmare I've had, and I've been thinking about since even before it arrived, was how I'm going to review it. Because I can't really do a sound test on it because there's so many sounds. And every one of you viewers is going to want to hear a different sound. So what I'll do instead of testing a particular sound is I'll make 3 sounds from scratch and we'll just look at that process and listen to it. So I'll make an acoustic guitar sound, a clean electric sound, sort of shadowsy maybe, and then a proper screaming lead sound. And as I go through that process, you'll be hearing the sound develop and you'll be able to decide for yourself whether you like the sound. And I'll be able to decide, do I like the sound and do I want to keep the pedal or recommend it? Right then, let's make an acoustic sound and we'll start with an empty bank. I'll go down a bank rather than up and then it's quicker for me to get there. So I'll use 50, A, B and C, which are all empty. I'll do the first one just using the pedal. And the first thing I'll do is actually give the preset a name and I'll call it my acoustic. I've speeded this bit up for obvious reasons. Because it's got a fairly typical piezo pickup, I'll use the Donna Hush 1. And I remember seeing a couple of acoustic amps in the pedal before, so I'll select one of those first. I think I prefer acoustic amp 79, so I'll select an acoustic cab to go with it. And there's 3 acoustic cabs to choose from. There's definite differences between the three cabs, but I slightly prefer the first one, so I'll select that one. And I'll also add an EQ in case I want to tweak the sound slightly later. And the final element I'll add is reverb. Just to be awkward, the sound I'm looking for is slightly bigger than the room, but slightly smaller than the hall. So maybe I can decrease the size of the hall or increase the size of the room. Let's take a look. The reverb changes the tone of the sound slightly. So I'll go back to the EQ and see if I can get it closer to what I'm looking for. For the sake of this demonstration, I think I've done enough. But if it was for a recording, I could probably spend at least an hour messing around with the sounds until I got it perfect. And this pedal's got more than enough options for me to get the sound I want. And the sound quality is really good. Here's something to give you an idea of what that preset sounds like. That's an extract from one of the many tunes you can learn in Book 1 and Book 2 of the GCH Guitar Academy fingerstyle course. I'll put a link down below in the description to the playlists for both those books, and you can get the PDFs completely free at the website at the beginning and at the end of this video. Right, let's move on to the next sound, which will be a clean electric Hank Marvin type sound. And I'll store that next to the preset we've just created. I'll use the PC app to create and edit this sound, and I'll call this preset Red Strat, after Hank Marvin's famous Red Strat. And it's far easier to name it using the PC app because you've got access to the computer's keyboard. Firstly, I'll try and find an amp. And the kind of amp that was common when this sort of sound was used is a Vox. So I'll look for one of those. Once I've got a reasonable amp sound, I'll look for a speaker or an IR sound that matches. Finally, I'll look for a fairly deep reverb sound. Like the last sound, I'll get something that's kind of alright, but I could spend hours editing this sound to get it perfect. That's pretty good, and it's as close as I'll get to the Hank Marvin sound as I can get with this guitar, because I've got very light strings on it, and Hank Marvin uses far heavier strings, which don't give a twangy sound like this guitar. And if you're wondering why I just use a couple of notes or a scale to check the sound, it's because YouTube will detect if I use other people's music, and that halves my revenue every time they detect a different tune. YouTube have got a revenue sharing system, which when it detects somebody else's music, it automatically sends half of the revenue from that video to the artist. Right, let's move on to the last sound I'm going to try and create, which will be a screaming lead sound. And I'll name it using the PC software because it's easier, but then we'll go back to the pedal. To get this sound, I'll use the Ibanez Jem 7V because it's got the perfect pickups for this kind of sound. And I'll start, as usual, by looking for an appropriate amp model. As I've selected a Marshall amp, I'll have a look through the caps to see if there's a Marshall 4x12. give this sound some kick, I'll go through the drive effects, though I'd probably get a better sound going through a clean or semi-clean amp and then use a driver. Right, I'll give the sound some reverb now, but only a tiny amount to give it some natural sounding ambience. I'll take a look in the effects now, just to see if there's a light phaser I can use to give the sound more interest. Just as a matter of interest, because we created all three sounds in one bang, you can go between the sounds very quickly using the pedals. Here's the finished screaming lead sound. You'll notice I got rid of the phaser in the end. Before doing the conclusion, I just need to quickly mention the expression pedal. The expression pedal has a very smooth action and it's very solid feeling, and I think it'll take some wear, and it is of course solid aluminium, so it's not going to break easily. When you first get the pedal, you probably need to calibrate the expression pedal, or if you were to add an external expression pedal, you'd do the same. And it's as simple as lifting the pedal right up, press OK, push the pedal right down, press OK, and then click the pedal for the switch function. And the expression pedal can be set up to whatever sound or sound effect you want it to have. It's not just a simple volume or wah pedal. It can be set up to change the parameters on most of the effects. Just a side note, When you're using the expression pedal, if you look at the A in arena, it actually gets brighter the further you push down the pedal. Conclusion. Hopefully you've seen and heard enough in this review to make your own conclusion on the pedal. However, I'm very impressed, and I think with enough time getting used to it, whatever sound you're looking for, you'll be able to get at least close to that. The quality of construction is really good and really solid, and the choice and variety of effects in the device are as much as you could expect. To give balance to the review, I've been trying to think of something negative or that I don't like about the pedal, but really there's nothing. I've watched some other reviews where they've criticised the fact that the touchscreen is very close to the knobs, so it's easy to hit the touchscreen inadvertently. But you can actually deactivate the touchscreen if you want, so that's not really a problem. And I think it's designed for when you stood up. If you're stood up, your fingers are coming from the top of the pedal rather than from the side, so you're not going to drag them on the touchscreen. Regarding ease of use, this is the easiest processor I've come across to edit and save the sounds on. Other processors I've used, you've had to use the software really to edit them in any detail, because to use the actual device itself is so complicated it's nearly impossible. But this can easily be edited just from the device. However, the fact that they offer the USB interface and the Bluetooth interface makes it infinitely easier to edit. If you're going to rely on the inbuilt sounds, I think you will need to edit them slightly, even if it's just the volume. Unfortunately, if you go through the sounds, there's such differences in volume, you could end up blowing your speakers out. So I would readjust the volumes of them all and save each patch as you go, especially if you mean to use them. So, to summarise the summary, if you want a guitar effects pedal with lots on it for under £300, you can't go far wrong with the Donner Arena 2000. It's well made and it sounds good too. If you want some more information about this pedal, or if you'd like to buy one, I'll put some links down below in the description so you can find out more and check out the prices. If you'd like more information about GCH Guitar Academy, or if you'd like some free guitar lessons, or lots of free guitar lessons, visit www.ebooksforguitar.com. And if you enjoyed this review, please like, subscribe and hit the bell icon, and then you'll be notified when I upload new videos and you won't miss anything. Thank you very much for watching. I hope you come back again soon, or visit the GCH Guitar Academy YouTube channel.